Welcome to the Motivated Martial Arts Podcast. Your hosts, Jackson White and Gavin Cook, have been friends and Taekwondo training partners for over 40 years. This podcast will bring you a mixture of their life stories, martial arts, and business experiences to motivate you in life and throughout your martial arts journey. Adding in a mixture of inspiring interviews and some of the best traditional martial artists around today. So over to your hosts, the Motivated Martial Artists.
Welcome to the Motivated Martial Artists Podcast, episode number 5, with myself, Gavin Cook.
And Jackson White.
And we've got a real treat for you today. We've got 22-time world champion Warren Weiss in the house today. Say hello, Warren.
Hi guys, you okay?
Yeah,
really good. Hey, thanks Warren for coming on. Great to catch up with you again.
It's good, mate. It's good to hear from you both.
Good. Really looking forward to get some real insight into what I consider probably the TAGB's best fighter. Get an insight into your mind around fighting, techniques, and all those good things that you've executed on the square, to get to those 22 world titles. So I know our audience are really keen to hear all about it, aren't they, Gavin?
Absolutely. So we fire off with the first question then, Warren. So it's just really, if you could sort of tell us a little bit about how you got into martial arts, and a little bit about your sort of the early life, really.
Yeah, no problem. So basically, I started when I was 6. The reason I started is I was getting a lot of trouble at school, getting bullied a lot, and even at primary school. So primary school was quite rough, getting bullied a lot. Even when I had a broken arm, I was getting bullied, and mum and dad having to go into school, and the number of fights outside of the school gates. So my dad had kind of sort of said, right, that's enough is enough. Let's go see what schools we can join.
Okay.
This is back in '89, so 1989. There wasn't many martial arts groups around back then, and there definitely wasn't many martial arts clubs that would teach kids that young. It was more of an adult thing back then. We found a Taekwondo club with my instructor at the time was Mark Farnham.
Okay.
He'd just moved into the TAGB. He'd split away from the UKTA, I think it was, and he'd just started up a Taekwondo club, and he was one of the only ones around who was taking kids that young.
Okay.
So me and my dad went along, and my dad joined in as well. So I think after I did the first week by myself, and after the second week, my dad was joining in. So it was me and my dad. Although back then there was like a kids class and an adults class. So
yeah.
To start with, we were still both separate. We're both into the martial art movies as well. Not so much the Bruce Lee that everybody else always. Oh, Bruce Lee. It was more Jackie Chan to me.
Yeah. You can't be a bit the drunken master.
Oh yeah, well this is it. Drunken Master. All of them. Eagle Shot. Just loads. All the proper old school dubbed martial art movies that were funny.
Yeah, putting jumpers jumping over people, sticking jumpers over the heads.
That's it. It was just about the comedy aspect of it as well.
Yeah.
That really appealed to me as well.
Is that why you like knocking? Sorry, well, is that why you like knocking people out with jumping reverse 360s?
Well, if you're going to do it, you might as well do it with style, right?
Exactly. Yeah. There's no one better in the business at that. That's for sure. So when did you start getting into the sparring side of Taekwondo then? How did that come about?
Well, to be honest, me and my dad always competed from straight away. So my dad was a mod, so he was used to fighting quite a lot. Back when he was a boy, he used to be fighting quite a lot.
Okay.
So I think the fighting genes were kind of always there.
Yeah. Even
from a yellow belt. I've got pictures of me as a yellow belt with Dave Oliver as the referee,
Okay.
Like tiny. So, but yeah, I competed I was doing every competition as well. I mean, there wasn't as many comps; it was mainly just the nationals. But you still had the Midlands and North Midlands and things. But I was doing them all the way from yellow belt to 6. I mean, I just didn't win anything.
Yeah,
I don't think I won anything until I was a black belt, or maybe even 2 years into being a black belt. And I was nearly 12 years old, 13, when I won my first kind of fight, if you like.
Do you think that helped though, Warren? Do you think that having all those losses earlier on, do you think that really give you that determination?
Well, I think you learn a lot of things. I think when you win all these, the kind of character I was always trying to learn, but it was more my dad who gave me a kick up the backside. I used to do this thing where even as a kid, And you see it now with your own kids and own students. They make friends with everybody around the ring. Well, I was exactly the same. So I'd make friends with everybody. And then when you're fighting them, I didn't care whether I won or lost because I was my mate. I think one of the guys I used to fight as a kid was Toby, Dave Oliver's stepson. You guys probably know Toby.
Yeah.
So it's me and Toby was as a kid. So people like that you'd fight and you'd just make friends with and stuff. And it was just, the winning and losing was never important to me until I got a few kicks at the backside saying, no more now. Come on, stop making friends with people. You're there to fight. And I think that it wasn't until I was a black belt and started getting a taste for winning where I was like, actually, you're right. I can make friends afterwards, but let's get the winning done first.
So when were you awarded your first dan in Taekwondo?
I was 10 when I got my first dan, so I started when I was 6. I was 10 years old when I got my first dan. I think my first tournament I won as a black belt was probably I won the British in '94. So '94, so I must have been about 11 then. So that's when I first won my big tournament, was the British. That was the last time they did those really nice bronze statues of them doing the jump and reverse kicks. Just before it went onto the medals and stuff and all the trophies. So that was the last time. And that one, I don't know if you guys remember, it was when they did the tournament in Norwich. So everybody was fuming because they had to travel all the way to where I live.
Yeah.
It was like an hour down the road for me. Everybody else hated it, but we were like, yes, at last.
There's a lot to be said for home advantage, isn't there?
Yeah,
well, this is it. Yeah, that may have played into it. I don't know, because obviously being from Norfolk, even when you travelled over to Birmingham and places
it's
like
a trek,
that,
isn't it?
by the time you got there, and by the time the competitions have always been quite efficient, but they was never as efficient as what they are now. You know, so you'd finish a tournament, especially with my dad doing a tournament as well. Even as colour belts, you're not leaving till 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night.
I remember those days.
We used to get home like at midnight, you know, and especially when we used to do the Welsh and the Scottish as well. We used to travel everywhere, and you're looking at like 8 o'clock finishes. You're not getting home till 12 at night.
No, it's crazy. I mean, you used to
they
wait.
were long old days, and people moan now, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
They're finishing at 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I mean, I remember coming back in the days where competitions, once you reached the quarterfinals, the semis were held, and the semis and the finals were held on one mat, so everybody could watch.
Yeah.
Great spectacle, but my word, you know, sometimes you're seeing competitions aren't finished till 10, 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
You know, and everyone's actually exhausted, and then you've got to travel back. So I can imagine the challenges you had going back over to Norfolk.
Yeah.
Must have been pretty horrific.
Well, this is it. Yeah, it was a long old days, and that was when the club, you know, when you get clubs get to a certain size and it's all family based, and everybody was going to comps together, and then a convoy, and so you're trying to keep. You know what it's like driving in a convoy when you got one person. So then there's 8 cars all trying to follow each other. And pulling up. It was just like a proper mission.
We was.
It's funny you should. Go on,
sorry. Well, I was going to say we was just talking on the earlier podcast about, you know, when was the time that you really started to enjoy your Taekwondo training, because not everyone enjoys it, do they, from the day they start. A lot of people, it's like a slow burner, and I know Jackie was saying, you know, he didn't really find it. Sorry, Juan, go for it.
You're right there with me. I mean, because I was getting bullied, it was a necessity to start with. I mean, I used to love the Taekwondo. Just before, I think I was already a black belt, so just before I started winning, just as I went to high school, I finally sorted out the whole bully situation before.
Okay.
So before I got to high school, the last year of primary, this kid had started, and I'd actually given him a side kick, just one kick, dropped him with a side kick, and that was it. He didn't want to argue anymore. All that trouble I got through primary school, I ended up getting no trouble through. I mean, you had a few scuffles, like, but
as you do.
By the time I had my black belt, I was sorted then, and I was. Maybe that's probably coincided with the whole winning the competitions as well, I'm guessing.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Well, it sets you in a different mindset, doesn't it?
You get from this is it. You go from not being a victim anymore, you know what I mean? You go to being, hang on, I'm actually good at what I do, and go from there.
So tell us about your journey into your first foray into the TAGB squad. What weight were you? How old were you?
Yeah, so I actually first went to do the squad training when I was about 14. I'd already been winning everything on the black belt circuit as a junior. And then at 14, I started going to squad training session. And back then, the squad was the squad type thing. and the juniors wasn't really looked upon. So when you go to spar, people didn't want to spar you because you was a kid. So even at 14, I mean, from 10 years old, my instructor and my dad was like, right, from now on you're not sparring juniors. So I'd gone from, I was winning at junior level, but in club level I wasn't winning anything because I was a 10-year-old fighting men, you know, so I'd get the odd point, but I was getting battered in thing, but if I went the other way and fought the juniors, I was battling them. So
well, you know, in our, I can see that totally. In our club, we were lucky or unlucky enough to have my dad, who was in his heyday at the time, and all he wanted to do was train. And you know, me, Gavin, and a couple of other friends, we used to just spar him, and he was relentless on us. You know, he never wanted us to beat him, and the better we got, you know, the harder he had to fight back. And you know, I think that makes you a better sparrer, better individual.
Yeah, well, this is it. Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, I was fighting my instructor and my dad, and me and my dad were top of having wars and going forwards. I mean, that put me in good stead when I was fighting all the teenagers.
Sure.
But like I say, at squad level, I went to a foo and nobody wanted to spar me. So I knocked it on the head then. I was, actually, when I was about 14, 15, I was also recruited to play rugby. So I was playing for the county rugby on the weekends and then doing my training during the week. It was only when I think I won a world championships when I was 15 at the junior level, and obviously I was the first person to win a world championships from my instructor's club, so everybody was celebrating and stuff, and it was a big deal for me and all the rest of it. And I went to the little after party thing afterwards, and there was a few high ranking members of the TAGB at the time there. Some of them were fighters, some of them were just masters or grading examiners, and they give it the whole, oh well, it doesn't really mean anything when you're a kid. So I was like absolutely gutted. So when I was told that, I was just like, so I was gutted. So I went home, I wasn't crying my eyes out or anything, but I told my dad, and I was gutted. And then so I was 15 and my dad was like, right, from now on you're not entering any junior competitions. So that was it. So from 15, I was, the next competition, I think I was just before I was 16 that I won the first world. So I was 16 then going into all these tournaments. But at the time, 16 and above was the adult division for the
it was
for the TGB. So it wasn't a massive deal, but so I was going into the adult divisions and I was having a few some good scraps there, and I was fighting people who are well-known names and not getting the results really. Everybody was like, just keep doing what you're doing, because eventually they've got to give you the results. Because sometimes it's a name, and it's okay, I accept that, because sometimes that name can get you a few wins before you even started. But so I was going in there, I was fighting people like Rich. I was a lightweight at the time, so I was fighting people like Rich Brown. I'd already fought him in the nationals. Tariq Iqbal, I'd already fought him, and there was a few things getting said just on the outskirts. You know, like people. So my mum would be there, and she'd hear like I'd have a tough fight against somebody, and where they think most people think I should have won. Should have won,
given the decision.
And then the person I'd fight would come off and go, oh, just put it with the other ones. You know, like, well, just put the medal with the other ones type thing. And my mum heard it and she's like, right, that's the last one you're going to get, mate, type thing. So I got her back up already. So when that sort of thing, you know, I'm a 16-year-old boy and I'm like, I was fearless. I didn't care who it was. I never saw somebody's name. I respected people and I enjoyed watching certain people fight, but I was never scared of anybody, never afraid to fight anybody. So
sorry, well, I was going to ask him, out of all the world championship titles that you've won, what would be your sort of your outstanding one that you can really remember that was, you know, your favourite one?
I think the first one was obviously a big one. That was the junior one though, but it was the next one that I was coming up to is the main one. I think there's been like fond memories of most of them because of different things that had happened beforehand, but the first adult one was pretty special because I'd gone into there as a 16-year-old fighting the 18 and over division.
Absolutely,
So technically I shouldn't have been in the division. So I can remember going there, and this is the one where they had the semis on the next day. So this was in Holland, I believe. I think this one's Eindhoven. So it's Eindhoven 2000. So I've gone over to Eindhoven. I'm fighting everybody. I'm winning, and then before you know it, I'm fighting people like Gaz Foster, people who have been around for a long while, and I'm going in as a 16-year-old. And I can remember Master Walton coming over to referee to coach, and he come over and someone was like, oh, we've got an English guy in the next round, so he come over and he's like, what's your name and stuff, and I said, oh, I'm Warren, and he's like, oh, how old are you? I was like, I'm 16. He's like, well, you shouldn't even be in this division. I'm like, yeah. So he's coaching me against Gaz Foster. Like, I can remember back then, like I say, it was less skill and more heart, more than anything. I was just fearless, like I say. I wouldn't say I was tough, because obviously it was a lightweight division, so they're only hitting you so hard as a lightweight. I could just remember being fearless. So I'd gone against this, I'm pretty sure it was Gaz Foster may have been the semis or the one before semis, might have been the quarters. And I just took it to him constantly, and I was all over him like a rash. Yeah. Go, 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 go. And I can remember Kenny going, oh my God, you're a tiger. He put a few other words in there, but you can imagine that.
Yeah. Some more colourful language, I can imagine.
Yeah. So anyway, so we did the. Actually, it was on the same day. I tell a lie. It was on the same day. It was all on the Saturday. So then next minute I'm in the final, and I'm in the final against the English #1. So it was Rich Brown at the time, and Rich Brown, he was a very good fighter. Again. Some people said about his attitude. I didn't really know the guy that well. So I'd fought him before anyway and took it close. And we was in the final, so I'm in the final. So this time Kenny's the coach of obviously Rich Brown, because he's one of the squad members. So I can't remember if it was my instructor or my dad who come down to coach me in the end. And the same thing in the final. I just all over him like a rash. Proper took it to him. Won that outweight, so there's no... I think obviously with being more neutral referees and stuff, it was nobody cared who your name was or who you was. They were watching the fight, and they'd tell you who won. You didn't win before you got there type thing.
Okay.
So I won this final, and I can remember in the night time there was a big hoo-ha, because obviously I wasn't in the England team, and I think there was a big argument going on. I couldn't tell you exactly because I wasn't there, but there's a bit of a buzz going around that night. I just won, and my plan was to watch the next day. I was going to watch the team event, and then they come up to me and said, right, will you fight? In fact, Scotland come up to me first and said, will I fight for Scotland? And I was like, yeah, I'll fight for Scotland. If England don't want me to fight, I'll fight for you. Yeah, I think David had a bit of a word saying this guy needs to be fighting for us. I don't know whether he said, like, this guy's the future of ours. He needs to be in the squad. So yeah, the next day they come up to me and said, look, we want you to fight for lightweight for the England team. So I was made up. I was like, yeah, no problem. Brilliant. And actually my best mate at the time, he was the flyweight, and he just got a bronze fighting against the likes of Joe Shembury and Pat Carter. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Pat Carter had just retired. I think he got injured in that tournament, and he was like, right, that's it, that's me done. So actually my best mate at the time got put in as well. Yeah. So there's me and my best mate who just got put in the England team for the first time, and the heavyweight was a new heavyweight as well, Mike, so he got put in as well.
Really seeing in a new era then, a new era of fighters.
Yeah, well this is it, and obviously you had the likes of Gordon Fern was still a young member of the team. You had Roger Lawrence and Frank Lindo were the other three. Yeah. So I think obviously for Gordon, I was a lot closer to Gordon's age than I think what he was to the likes of Roger and Frank and Pat and the previous one. So Gordon was really welcoming straight away. I think he's probably more relieved to have somebody his own sort of, not his own peer group. He's still a few years older than me, but still, he was really welcoming in. And I can remember fighting all those. I was the only one actually that weekend that didn't lose a fight. So I won all my fights for the national team as well. Brilliant. I think we got a second in that tournament. I think we came second to Argentina.
Great. Okay.
But again, I had a good scrap with the Argy guy in the final for that, and won my fight for them as well.
I mean, certainly when you look at your fights, Warren. I mean, obviously you're certainly always, probably the most exciting fighter certainly that I've ever experienced watching on the TAGB circuit. Was it always that way? When your sort of earlier fights, did you used to keep things a bit safer, and was it not the sort of later years when you started dropping all these exciting moves in? And
I definitely think you're right there. I think that it's definitely the later years when you get comfortable in winning becomes a habit. For me, it became a habit. So it's not something I ever took for granted. It's something that there was always a lot of pressure. I think people don't realise how much pressure is on you to go out and win on a consistent level. I think that I've seen a lot of talented fighters before and that, well, not so much before me, but since me, who have got a lot of quality, but that pressure of having to do well has knocked them sick, has made them bottle it in big tournaments when there's people cheering you. And a lot of the places we go outside of the UK, people don't want us to win. So you got to fight hard. They're trying to knock your head off. But as for the fancy stuff, I think you're right. I mean, I used to train on a regular basis every week. So even when I was still doing squad training, but I was still training with my own instructor. So every week I'd watch something on the Matrix or something silly like that. And I'd go, right, well, I want to try that. Why can't I try doing that? Or, you know, why shouldn't I try putting it into a thing? It's a bit different now. You see everybody doing these spins and they're all doing the freestyling and the tricking. None of them are hitting anything with it. Basically, I've been to the tricks where I've got some friends who are trickers, and when it comes to hitting a pad, I'll hit the pad every time. They'll look really smart with these flips, but they won't hit it. A lot of the time, they're not used to actually making contact.
Well, it's like that old Bruce Lee saying, isn't it? The punch bag doesn't hit back.
Yeah.
To execute those techniques, you know, against a moving target that's actively trying to hit you as well. You know, it's a huge skill. Yeah. Absolutely phenomenal.
What sort of training drills do you used to do, Warren, just to sort of hone these skills, obviously, that you've got in timing and, like I say, hitting the pad and hitting the target every time?
Well, to be honest, a lot of the time, Gavin, it was sparring people. I wasn't practicing it on the pads. I was practicing it on people.
Yeah, on my head a few times, you know, as well.
But even at the when you're not necessarily at competition, you'll try it. But a lot of the stuff I try in competition, I do one kick or a couple of good kicks in the comp. People don't realise I've done that kick maybe 100 times before on a Thursday night. You know what I mean? So it's not, wow, where did that come from? Yeah. That's something my instructor had been seeing, and the people we went through a bit of a golden age where we had maybe 3 or 4 members of the England squad was all from Kings Lynn. Considering that's a little town that nobody else has heard of, we had a bit of a golden age. So I'm practicing this stuff, and even the people who weren't doing well in competitions, they were still solid fighters. You couldn't take anybody for granted, and a bit like the Warwick Club, I'm guessing. There were still people there, even if they weren't winning competitions. You knew if they hit you, you'd been hit. So it was just trial, and you're just trying it, and you'd learn what people to do it against. So if it's a right leg kicker, or if it's somebody who's a bit more handsy, I was very good at reading people within the first 30 seconds of the fight. I could read what needed to be done and stuff, and not only that, I'd watch people as well. I'd sit down, I'd get myself a chair, I'd sit down and I'd watch the whole division. And where most people, I mean, I'm not saying I'm a negative person, but where people would watch people go, oh, look at that, that's good, I'd be watching people and picking faults, and not because I'm a nasty person or anything like that. It was because I needed to pick faults, because I needed to find out what weaknesses they had that I could exploit. So when I'm watching somebody, I'm not watching them going, oh my God. Some people talk themselves out of the fight just by watching. Oh my God, did you see his spin kick, or did you see his thing? I'd watch him against if they was against somebody who wasn't very good, I'd watch them and go, that person's rubbish, but he still managed to kick him in the stomach there, or he still managed to punch him a lot in that bit of a tussle there, or so you're trying to see, hang on, he's still losing points there, so that I then take advantage, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So who are some of the toughest competitors that you fought against then, Warren?
Oh, geez. So lightweight, when I was younger, there was a lot of people on the circuit. So you had the likes of you had Rich Brown was good. You had the likes of Eddie Jones, Gaz Foster. So you had Dave Honey. All these people, I'd consider all of them better kickers than I was. Not necessarily stronger than I was, but they're better kickers than I was. They could hold their leg up a lot longer. I've never been the most flexible of person. Yeah. So when I kick, it's like I have to will it up there type of thing. And my balance
I know that feeling.
Quite good as well. Yeah, good old will it up there, that's fine. Yeah. But so the lighter weights, you had them guys. Going through, then you had the likes of Andy Deere was very strong. He was very tall and lanky. So then, as I started putting on weight, everybody didn't seem to be short and podgy like me. They all seemed to just be tall and strong. So you know what I mean? Or they'd be a lot more muscular and stronger than me. You always had tough fights. You had Andy. You had Tyrrell, although I didn't get to spar Tyrrell much. I fought a lot of people. So I had the likes of Jackie and Jay. So you know, you guys there, you were solid. And you know, I used to enjoy sparring, but I knew that if I made a mistake, I'd get punished for it. So it's always nice to have that feeling of, you know, if I balls this up, you know.
That was always my aim, just to get one good one on you.
Well, this is it. Well, this is it, just to make them feel like you've been there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Make them earn whatever you do. And I'm exactly the same. You had a lot of the heavyweights. I fought a lot of the big heavyweights. So you had like Steve Miller, fought the big Canadian guys, a big Russian guy. So Joe Shembry, I've fought Joe Shembry, Jimmy Watson a few times.
Yeah.
You know, so there's a lot of good. James Reed. To be honest, I've always had such a confidence in myself that I've never, even though most people would be afraid of all these great fighters, I was never bothered. It was like, no, I'm the main man type thing. I'd always think, you know, whether I was or whether I wasn't, that's up to other people. But in my head, I was always, no, this is my house type thing.
Yeah, definitely always having that confidence in yourself.
What sort of advice would you give to the youngsters, Warren? Obviously, because I know I have a lot of youngsters in my club that come and train with you that are doing really, really good. But I know a lot of the youngsters obviously look up to you and they want to be like you and emulate you. What sort of advice would you give them in the early years, other than training hard, I suppose?
Well, yeah, I mean, the obvious one, like you say, is training hard. But at the end of the day, like I said earlier, I used to watch people and enjoy watching different people, but there was never a stage that I was like, I want to be like them. And I know it's when people say, oh, you're my idol and stuff like that, that's always nice to hear. But for me, I'm like, no, be your own person. You don't be like me or try to be emulating me. Do your own thing, because I'm pretty sure there was people doing similar to what I was doing beforehand. But in my head, I'm like, no, I'm the first, so I'm doing this, I'm doing that. You know, and the same before, there'll be people doing spins and all the rest of it and having fun with it. The main thing is having fun. I used to go into a tournament going, nah, I'd set myself targets. I want to do this today. I'm going to land a 540. I'd tell my instructor, I'll be like, right, today I'm going to land a 540. And he'd laugh at me. And then I'd do it. And they'd come back and there'd be a video of me doing it. And he'd be like, how
did you do that?
And I'm like, well, no. Yeah, because I was setting myself targets. Or I can remember one tournament we went to it was Italy or something like that. And Master Walton, I was like, what do you want me to do? And he's like, I want you to do 3 kicks to the head. So rather than just doing like the one turning kick, he wanted me to do 3, like a treble turning kick to the head. So I was like, yeah, okay. And I went up to this guy and I went, bam, 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 3 turning kicks to the head. And I can remember Jay in the stands just shouting, cheering his head off, and everybody just go mad. And they must have thought it was like the world's best. It was because we talked about it just beforehand, and I said, what do you want me to do?
Sure.
And he'd be like, 360 and then change it into this, and I'd do it. And even to this day, I'm definitely sure. I watch Master Walton coach a lot of people, and it seems like a real stressful job, you know, and he's trying to get people, he's trying to tell people what to do and all the rest of it.
Yeah, you can hear him all the time, can't you? Shouting and screaming, shouting front hand and they do an axe kick. He shouts front leg, they do a reverse punch.
But you know what, one of the best feelings is to go out there representing England or GB, whoever it was at the time, and Kenny sitting there and not having to say a word, because he knew that I'd do the job, and he knew that and all I'd hear from him is go, nice, yeah, and all I'd hear him is shouting, yeah. He doesn't need to tell me anything. He doesn't need to give me loads of instructions. He doesn't need to give me a pep talk. He knew that I'd go out there, do the business, have fun. And this is where I think a lot of squad members maybe don't get the most out of what they're doing, is because they feel the pressure too much of enjoying themselves. I used to go out there, I used to love it, and I used to enjoy it. And I could, you know, I'd enjoy a tournament, and then I'd speak to all the people I'd just fought. I'd make friends with people all over the world, because they knew that I was enjoying it. I wasn't stressed. I wasn't trying to kill them. I was just there to do a job.
And once enjoy what you do.
That was it. Relax then.
So that actually brings us nicely on to my next question. Obviously, you retired in 2016. So what have you been doing to fill your time now you're not competing?
I teach Monday to Friday. I do a lot of one-to-ones and things like that, but basically the reason I retired was because I just had a baby. So I've got a little 3-year-old girl now who's going on like 21, bossing me about every 2 minutes. So I just wanted to enjoy my weekends more. I've got 2 stepchildren as well, so if we have all the kids at the weekend, it was time to stop giving up every Saturday and spending 7 hours every Saturday doing squad training, and it was time to enjoy the family.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's a big commitment, isn't it? Got to be there week in, week out.
It's a very big commitment.
Yeah.
And not only that, I've done a lot. There wasn't much more for me to do. I mean, I've gone through all the divisions. I've fought in all the divisions up to heavyweight, and I wouldn't say the passion's gone, because I still now I itch to get back and spar, and it's not the same. You don't want to be knocking your own students about, but
always knock someone else's around. Don't knock your own around; they'll leave.
Of course, yeah. Well, this is it. But so I still miss it. I still miss the training and stuff, and it's something that I'd like to do again. But at the moment, it's just enjoying family life, isn't it? Enjoying being with the kids. They grow up too quick.
Yeah. So how old are you now, Warren, then, if you don't mind me asking?
I've just turned 36. Turned 36 on the 23rd of June.
So, 36, mate. So I didn't get into the squad till I was 33. Are we going to see, is there any chance we might see a sneaky comeback?
It might be a few years down the line, mate. But, I don't know. You never know. You can never say never. It's one of them. I see a lot of people who retired maybe a year or two too late. So I don't know. I'd rather be remembered for winning. I mean, when I retired, I'd just won the heavyweight world championships. And we won the team. So you went out on a triple gold. I was a bit gutted about the tag team. I only got a silver in that. So they went out on a triple world gold. If you come back and you lose, or you go to a lot of people come back to the point stop competitions, which I think it's silly. They're so touch and go. Yeah. The amount of point stop comps I've done where people will tag you once and then just run away the whole time.
We've all been there on those.
I wouldn't want to come back and then spoil the memories I've had by just getting knocked out silly, or by, I don't know.
Well, it's not a bad thing. I retired the same time as you. The urge is always there to want to get back in, but my heart of hearts knows. I pushed it out as long as I could, and the commitment, the body started failing, and it doesn't stop me though. I managed to dig my gear out for a spot tag team the other weekend. Couldn't walk for a week afterwards, mind.
This is it.
We got silver, didn't we?
A bit boxing training or something like that, and my back would be killing me for a week. What's going on? Honestly, because I'd started so young, my body feels like it's an old man already, and I'm 36, and people are like, I should be fit and healthy. I'm like, well, no, I've been doing it since I was a baby, you know what I mean? So my body's had enough of doing all the grinding my hips away and what have you.
Okay, well, sorry, just stop you there, everyone. So I was just wanted to quickly move on to you. Obviously, give you a chance to sort of have a quick talk about your clubs, really, because obviously I know you've got a club up in is it Chester, isn't it? Chester and the Wirral.
No, it's Liverpool.
Liverpool. Yeah. So is it going okay?
Yeah, things are going well. I've got 8 clubs I've got on the run now. So
brilliant.
I teach Monday to Friday, and I've got a couple of other instructors who teach in satellite schools for me. So yeah, we're doing okay. It's one of them. It's up and down, isn't it? The same as anything.
Yeah, of course.
Especially as summer holidays come along. But no, we're doing okay. I just had Master Walton down to do a self-defense seminar. That went really well.
Yeah. I had some of my students went. Some of my students went to it actually. They came back. Came back buzzing from it. So
I'm well motivated.
Yeah, no, you know what? It was really good. It was a good eye opener. It's just nice to see people in a different aspect.
Yeah. Of course.
Okay then, Warren. Final question. We're the motivated martial artist. I've never met a more motivated martial artist than you. What motivates you?
For me, I just wanted to be the best. I wasn't bothered about winning a specific trophy or a specific title. We're very fortunate in the association that we are, that they've got such a long history, and we've got the likes of Master Oliver and stuff who likes to tell everybody about these histories, or if you're fortunate enough to hear him talk about these great fighters. And I was like, well, no, I want to be one of these great fighters. In fact, I don't want to just be one of these great fighters. Yeah. I want to be the best fighter.
Of course.
So and kind of that motivated me. So then again, that's why I had fun with what I was doing. I could have just stayed with doing the same technique all the time and getting easy wins, but I was like, no, I want people to remember watching me, and I wanted people to look up to me and go, wow, that's something different. That's, and like you say, try to be that exciting fighter that people want to watch.
Having fought you numerous times and never ever once got a decision on you, and I think maybe once I might have squeezed it in my own head, squeezed the decision or justified the decision in my own head. It's absolutely awesome to watch you fight. From your younger days all the way up to 2016 when you retired. Anyone that has never seen Warren Weiss fighting, all you got to do is stick his name into YouTube, and you'll pick it up and you'll see why he's probably been the TAGB's #1 fighter for the last 15 years, without a doubt.
Absolutely, absolutely. And they should come along and do some of your seminars, Warren.
Yes, definitely. I mean, I'm going international at the moment by the looks of things. I mean, I've been fortunate enough to go to food places to do seminars. I've been to Poland and Argentina. Actually looking at going to Africa at the end of the year to do seminars. October, we're going to Africa to do some seminars. And I'm in contact with the Americans at the moment to be going over there next year. They've got a few different venues they want me to do some seminars in. So
sounds like you've got a packed schedule.
Well, this is it. If you want seminars, book now, because my wife's going to kill me if I keep taking
well, what we'll do, Warren, once this one podcast goes live, we'll obviously we'll stick all your details onto the Facebook page for you. You know.
Yeah, no problem. That's all good.
Okay, and also anyone else out there got any questions for Warren Weiss, just drop them onto the group page. I'm sure Warren will be on there before you know it, and I'm sure he'll be happy to answer any of the questions that you guys have for
him. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, Warren, we're going to wrap it up there. Thanks very much for taking time out of your busy schedule. Wish you all the luck for the future.
No worries, mate.
And catch you up soon,
Thank
buddy.
you very much.
Thanks, Warren. Take it easy.
No problem. See you soon.